Hello everyone, I'm Gabby Vallandingham and welcome back to my channel. Today we are moving on to a new decade, and that is the 1970s. I kind of did my hair to make it look a little bit more 70s. Do you like it? Just kidding, you don't have to answer that. Just joking. So lucky for you, there is only going to be one video for this decade, but it was very hard picking the movies. So there's going to be a little list at the end of movies that I still think you should see. I'm just not going to go into great detail about it. But all of the movies that I'm going to talk about on this list, you should see. So yeah, let's just get right into it and let's talk about some films, shall we? So the first film that we're going to talk about is from 1971, and it is A Clockwork Orange. In the future, a sadistic gang leader is imprisoned and volunteers for a conduct aversion experiment, but it doesn't go as planned. And this was directed by Stanley Kubrick, and it stars Malcolm McDowell. This is a weird one, and it's kind of terrifying in my opinion. It's really hard for me because I know how great of a film it is, but it's not a film I particularly enjoy watching. But I do know it's an essential for movie lovers, so I feel like you have to at least see it once. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It's kind of a terrifying movie, but if you want to be in the movie business, this is definitely a movie that you need to see in my opinion. Watch at your own risk. The next movie that we're gonna talk about is from 1973, and it is The Exorcist. When a 12-year-old girl is possessed by a mysterious entity, her mother seeks the help of two priests to save her. And this was directed by William Friedkin, and this stars Ellen Bernstein. So yeah, this one's also kind of terrifying, but I think everyone needs to see it at least once. So yeah. It's a good one. It's very creepy, obviously, but everyone needs to see it at least once. The next two films that I'm going to talk about, because to me they're a pair, are from 1972 and 1974, and it is The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. So I'm gonna read the synopsis for the first one. The aging patriarch of an organized crime dynasty transfers control over his empire to his reluctant son. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it stars Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and James Caan, and a lot of other people too, but I'm not gonna go through all of that. So the first two movies of this trilogy are just my favorite. The story and the acting is just, it's top notch. It's chef's kiss. And yeah, honestly, everyone should see all three movies, but ignore the third one after you've seen it once because it's not my favorite. It's not the best. The first two are the important ones. The next film that we're going to talk about is from 1975, and it is Jaws. When a killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community, it is up to a local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down. And this was directed by Steven Spielberg. And it stars Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Schneider, and Robert Shaw. Two words, Steven Spielberg. That's the reason you should go see this. I'm just joking. Well, I'm not joking. This is a great movie, but I think it's really interesting because no one really thinks about how long a movie takes to be produced. They had a lot of trouble filming this movie, and they actually went over budget and over the time scheduled to actually film the movie. But obviously it all paid off because it's a classic. So before I talk about the last film on this list, I'm gonna give you the 4 films that I still think everyone should see, but I'm not going to go into great detail about it. So the first one on this list is from 1973, and it is The Way We Were. 1977's Star Wars: A New Hope. 1978, National Lampoon's Animal House. And then finally, 1979's Alien. So the next film that we're going to talk about is from 1976, and it is Taxi Driver. A mentally unstable veteran works as a nighttime taxi driver in New York City. where the perceived decadence and sleaze fuels his urge for violent action by attempting to liberate a presidential campaign worker and an underage prostitute. And this was directed by Martin Scorsese, and it stars Robert De Niro, Jodie Foster, and Sybil Shepherd. So what I really love about this movie is obviously the acting, because Robert De Niro. But the setting of this movie is just, oh, it's so good. And it's obviously realistic because it was done in New York City during that time. But to me, it just feels like you're literally on the streets in New York City when you're watching it. And I love that. I love feeling like you can literally like go into a movie, you know? I just think that's really cool. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you liked it. And if you did, could you give it a like and a comment? That would be great. And let me know down below if there was any movies you thought I should add to this list or any movies that you would take away from this list. And stay tuned for my next 2 videos because it will be the 1980s part 1 and part 2. And that's gonna be some fun videos. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and I will see you soon. Goodbye.